You know, only a couple more weeks till I'm gonna have to do a new intro. Boy, I've been putting that off, haven't I? Oh well.
Listen, folks.
A simple arming sword guard, rather square and blocky. But as we move through time, we notice they thin in the middle and thicken towards the edge. In other cases, the guards elongate. Although some are certainly contemporary to straighter guards, we do begin to see guards evolve to have various types of flares at the end of them, various shapes, but adding mass. And sometimes we begin to see knobs or balls or curls that add mass. This is a Talhofer-style longsword from the mid-1500s. It has points on the crossguard, and we are told in the manual that they were used for thrusting attacks. The Bosworth longsword here has somewhat pointy tips, but many longswords, especially later period ones, have acorn-shaped endings, balls, or some kind of flare. Even side swords and rapiers often have flares or balls of some sort at the end of their quillons. One might ask the question at this point, why put balls or flares at the end of a guard if the guard is used often for striking? Wouldn't the point make more sense? Well, if you're using it to stab something, yes. But there may be another reason, apart from aesthetics, why people added flares or balls to the end of the quillons, and that is mass. Let me explain. A figure skater will spin slowly with their limbs extended, but as they pull their limbs in, they will begin to spin faster without adding additional momentum. This is a stick.
No shit, Sherlock.
More precisely, it is a windless lightsaber boken. As if we take and spin, oops, hit my phone there. Spin, that spins pretty easy. Alright, but hold on just 1 second. Okay, so excuse the setup here. These are toes out of steel toe boots. Put on a Happy Meal bucket lid, and I ran out of tape, so I had to use some rubber bands. But the point is that what I've done is increase the mass away from the center axis. Center axis being where my finger would be, straight up through the rod. Now, we'll try to spin this. We'll find I cannot spin it as fast as easily. There's resistance. And this is because if you take mass and put it away from the center line, the center rotation, the further you put the mass away, the more resistance it causes. Also, more mass. So if you put a lot of mass close, resistance. A little mass further away, same kind of resistance. But if you put a lot of mass further away, you get a lot of resistance and rotation. Now, wide-bladed swords, like medieval swords, tend to rotate less because they have mass further away from that center of rotation. Whereas if you take a thin-bladed, something like a side sword or something, it's going to have more likely chance to rotate than a wider sword because it has all its mass closer to the center of rotation. If you take the guard and put mass, a ball or flare or something, at the end of the mass, while it negates its properties as a stabby sort of thing, like on the Talhofer swords, it increases the ability to slow the potential rotation. So that, if you're cutting with a thin-bladed sword, and you don't hit with your edge perfectly aligned, having mass at the end of the guard far away from the blade will help it not to twist in the hand and possibly correct itself in the cut. But that is just my theory. A sword theory. Also, I postulate that it's not just the guard that can prevent rotation. You notice often on curved swords like sabers or katana, or especially like a Mameluke saber or something Middle Eastern, like a Samshir, they don't have very long guards. So what keeps them from twisting and rotating? It's the shape of the blade. A curve naturally is off the center line when it curves, and that curve in the blade actually helps it to keep from wobbling side to side, you see. Suppose you have a teeter-totter and you're going teeter-totter. I'm trying to keep that center point as the point of rotation, okay? So roughly at the center. Now, to slow the rotation of a teeter-totter, if you put mass at either end, it will be harder to put into motion. And it doesn't matter which way from the center line you go. In other words, if your center's here and you put the mass back here, it'll slow. If you put the mass over here, it'll slow. If you have a circle, same principle. The center of rotation at the center of the circle, but anywhere along the rim that you put added mass will slow the rotation. As such, if you have a sword with a decently long handle, like a long sword, and you put a pommel at the end of that long sword that isn't hollow, that has some mass, well, when your blade is going this way, the pommel could be going upwards. You see what I'm saying? And if the pommel is going up while the blade's going down and the blade suddenly stops, the mass of the pommel will still be in motion. It has not been stopped, and it will actually continue to want to rise. So in other words, it is possible to increase the impact force.
Now go and contemplate that sword theory. Hilson. And good night, folks.